You now are listening to the audio podcast of Prisoners of Hope, the antidote to what ails your heart. I'm your host, Dr. Debbora Whitson. So come on in, pull up a chair, and open up your mind as you get ready to receive the download that hope will bring. Well, hey, welcome to the podcast. It is a good day, and it is Dr. D. And I'm excited about the third part of the interview with Kimmy. So buckle your seatbelts, put your tray tables in an upright position, and enjoy.
Mm-hmm.
And
Absolutely.
this is basically from your parents installing that knowledge in you.
Mm-hmm.
You were able to
Alright.
reach out to the only person that can save you, but they say there is no atheists in the foxhole. Everybody goes, "Oh my God," but you don't believe in God. We all believe in God. We all believe, especially when there's no other way out. We just go, "Oh my God," but you're an atheist. You're saying God. But for some reason, you didn't know what he had on his mind, even though he was dressed in a suit.
Mm-hmm.
You might have stopped him from going astray. Or
Mm-hmm.
I know that God had a message for him. Number one, you have a purpose. Number two, I will send you. Number three, listen and go.
Mm-hmm.
Because, I'm sure he's never forgotten that. Or the girl in the bikini walking down the street.
Mm-hmm.
Isn't that amazing? I mean,
Absolutely. I
it's just amazing. I mean, the little threads. I mean, I think about my story and the little threads. I mean, I remember one time I was talking to God like, no one wants to be my friend, because people deal with tragedy only so much. So if you're a person that's constantly something happening to you,
mm-hmm.
you got to be careful about telling your friends because a lot of them will shy away, especially if they have um, similar accoutrements or demographics. Like, oh, okay, they have two kids, and I was saying to God, I was walking and I was hiking. I said, no one understands to have two kids and have three critically injuring accident. People kind of shy away, they shy away. And I was telling God, there ain't no one who's gonna understand. A week later, now yours was hours later, mine was a week later. A week
Mm-hmm.
later, I go to this Bible study. I mean, and I didn't feel like, look at the little string. I didn't feel like going. I went anyway. Okay. And Chris had just been shot. My youngest one got shot, point blank in the chest by a cop's kid playing with his daddy's gun. Okay. And I was kind of sitting sideways because there's so much weight on your mind. Sometimes you don't sit upright. I was kind of sitting sideways. And this Asian girl sitting next to me who was real shy, I kind of turned to her and said, "So what are you doing this weekend?" And she said it was very confrontational and she was afraid to share with the group what she was going to share and what she
Mm-hmm.
was shy. She because it was a spiritual group. Our kids went to the same Christian school and all the 10th grade parents mothers met in the morning at Panera Bread and we were sitting there and so she was kind of shy. I don't know why she would be shy to share that. And she goes, "Well, a friend of mine is flying in from Idaho and she's doing a marriage seminar." Well, when things really bad happen, your marriage is not necessarily a lot of times people break up. You know what I mean?
Oh,
And so I was like, "Oh, a marriage seminar." I'm like, "I want to go." And so she got courage to tell the whole group, but she was meant to tell me because I was the only one who showed up.
wow.
Okay. And she had wrote down my email wrong. You see, Satan gets all into it. When God tells you to do something, if you don't do it right away, Satan throws monkey wrenches in it. And I really think it's a battle between God and Satan if you read the book of Job. And we are
Mm-hmm.
just incidental to the battle. Whether we're going to participate on his side or the adversary side is our choice. And so I said, "Oh, yeah, I would go." And so she wrote down my address, it's 01, and she wrote down one. So I didn't get the email, and I bugged my husband. That was on a Tuesday. I bugged him all week. "Oh, we gotta go, we gotta go." Well, my husband just did not wanna go to church with me, but that Sunday you see the thin string for her to turn to me and me to say, "What you're doing this weekend?" The thin string that she told. And so we went the thin string of my husband going to church with me because he won't do that. But my son had just been shot, so I think he was searching for an ankle. So he goes to church. We sit in the church and the group starts singing, and I'm like, "Oh, I've heard this before." And the church is packed because this is a famous bluegrass group that's singing, and I'm like, "Oh my goodness." So that's a thin string because my husband knew that he wouldn't have went because it would have been too
Mhm.
crowded. And so we were sitting there and it was packed. And my husband usually wants to get up and leave, "Hey, let's go." I'm the social butterfly. But we sat there for some reason, thin string. See, that's the back of that tapestry that I was talking about. And
Mhm.
so the church kinda cleared out. It was kinda magical. And 4 seats, 4 rows back was sat the Asian girl who asked me, her
Mhm.
husband, the guest speaker, and her husband.
Wow.
And she goes, "Oh my god, you never respond to my email." And I'm like, "Well, you didn't email me." So we checked. She goes, "Oh my god." Okay, this is how Satan got into it again. So she tells me, "Oh, it begins at 6:30." Well, 6:30 is when the speaker was on this time to speak. It began at 6. You see how Satan is? You see, it began at 6.
Yes.
And so when we got to the house, it was packed. And my husband's like, "Oh, I don't wanna. We're late because they were already talking." You know? And the Asian girl she realized she gave me the wrong time, so she had saved 2 seats right in the front.
Wow.
My husband's dismayed, right in and so you know how you're sitting because at that time, we were sitting in a and I'm sitting down and I'm looking at the room around me. You know how when you're feeling bad, you think everybody's doing better than you. "Oh god, look at her beautiful house, and look
Mhm.
at her children." So she had 4 boys. There's a picture of 4 boys smiling, like a studio picture, Owen Mills, you would take your kids. And I guess I don't have a good poker face because the Asian girl was observing me. Look at the picture. And I was looking at the
Mhm.
picture and she kinda leaned over and whispered, 3 of her boys are gone. They died."
Oh
And I was like,
gosh.
I couldn't hear any of the rest of the seminar. I was just like, because God had brought me somebody that I could talk to and was a pathway friend to help me. I mean, you gotta, I mean, if you think that's a coincidence, you're crazy. Like your little walk, that wasn't a coincidence.
Mhm.
That was a goalpost to turn your butt around.
Absolutely.
And that was a goalpost for him to turn his butt around, whatever he was doing.
Mhm.
Because how many well dressed men stop for girls walking down the street in bikinis? Think about it. Think about
Exactly.
it.
Especially when it hit, because I was thinking, well, maybe it's because I have a nice smile. Like, I was like, "Ooh, help me." Because, like, I generally think I'm a good person, and I was
Mhm.
thinking, "Wait, no." I'm like, "Here, I'm just in a hot pink mini skirt."
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
Yeah.
Now, isn't that's interesting. It's almost if you look at it, I call it God kisses because it's him telling you, number one, I'm here. Number one, I'm close. All you have to do is call me. And number two, there is a purpose for your life. I don't care what you think you're doing. You're going to do your purpose if you're following me.
Mhm.
And I will show you what your purpose is. But I will protect you. I won't let your feet slumber, fall, because I'm the God who doesn't slumber. And so it's
Mhm.
just I have this series called Pathway Stories, and I'm interviewing people about stories when God showed up in their life so they can remember. And the last person I interviewed, she was like, "Oh my God, I had forgotten all of that. What a blessing." Because we don't, it's almost like we don't see our blessings when they're present. And I
I
a-
couldn't agree.
and I'm trying to change that in my life.
Mhm.
To be here now, like you said, be present in the moment. Amazing. Well, can you share with, because we're getting near the end, but can you share with how you decided to take my classes? I think that's a weaving too, a thin line.
Oh, uh, well, I don't know if people remember this, but before there was a, a website called ratemyprofessors.com, and I was trying to find the best teachers that I could take, and I stumbled upon your name, and I was just hearing, "She is great. She is fantastic." And somewhere like, "Wow, she graded me really hard," but she is great. Yeah. She will teach you not only about marketing, she'll teach you about life. I'm like, about life? College life? And I didn't know it, but I will tell you is that made me want to sign up. And from the first moment I saw you on there, I made sure I always sat in the front. Did you notice that? I
Mhm,
of all
mhm, mhm. Yep, you were always in the front. Mhm.
Oh, yeah, I loved your class because, I mean, there was time well, of course, I was always taking notes on whatever we were learning about at that time, but you're teaching us that not only am I gonna teach you how to do marketing for a company, but what you said is that you have to learn how to market yourself.
Mhm, mhm.
Was so profound, and so I had a separate notebook that I didn't write my marketing notes in it, I wrote all my life lesson notes from you in there. Unfortunately, somehow when I was living in the student apartments, I misplaced it. So that's one of my biggest regrets in life is because there's a lot of good stories in there that really, stuck with me. And unfortunately, I even have shared some of them with my daughter, and she's 9 years old.
Wow.
And she's like, "Wow, where'd you learn this?" And I'm like, "Oh, Debbora Whitson." She's like, "You talk about her a lot." And I said, I know. She's a really cool lady." I said, "You met her once."
She was ruled a little. Mhm.
You're a real blessing in my life. And you know what? It makes me think of this one movie. It was actually a book, and it says like the five people you meet in heaven.
Wow.
And
Yeah,
the
I've read that book before, it's good.
yeah, there's a made for TV movie too. And I remember when I was in this leadership group, they made us read it, and it says like it was just a really great book because it said it's almost going adjacent to what we're talking about. Like at the time, you're meeting these certain people that had such an impact on you, or how you had such an impact on them. And for me, you're one of those people that if I went to heaven and we're both in heaven, I, I hope I
Hopefully,
say,
that's what I'm working
yeah.
toward.
Oh yeah, I know. I'm working on it too. And be like, and so I'll be there and say, "Hey, we made it! Isn't that great?"
Like
You
heat,
know.
so I know I'm gonna go to heaven. I don't like heat, I like air conditioned.
Oh yeah.
Well, Kimmy, I really appreciate you spending this time with me, taking time out of your busy schedule with your daughter. Thank
Mhm.
you, thank you, thank you, thank you for spending this time. And you guys, I want you to tune in next time for the Prisoners of Hope podcast. God bless you all. Bye bye.
Bye.
My hope is that this journey has been fruitful and you're able to take it and apply it to your life. Until next time, tune in again for the Prisoners of Hope podcast. God bless.